Hi everyone! Dwarfs aren't just fairy tale creatures mining gems in caves or rescuing Snow White. They are also beautiful exotic tomato varieties with unbelievably beautiful and sturdy plants. Some have been growing them for a long time. Some are just getting to know this tomato line. And to make it easier for you to figure out which ones are worth growing, today I will tell you about 5 varieties from the Dwarf Tomato project that have pleased me with their taste and more. The first variety I will show you today is Dwarf Parfait, selected and named by Susan Oliverson. Despite being a dwarf, it is very tall, and when grown in 3 stems, it passed the 5 feet 3 inches or 1.6 meter mark by early August. It's a large fruited variety, and I fell in love with it literally on an emotional level. First of all, it is a tomato with a potato leaf, and such leaves, when we talk about dwarf tomatoes, look especially beautiful. Secondly, it is, of course, the unusual color of the fruit. It's not yellow, but it's not green either. It's somewhere in the middle, and this makes it different from many other varieties. Thanks to the size of tomatoes, the variety showed a fairly high yield. The fruit weighed an average of about 13 ounces or 366 grams, which is good for dwarf tomatoes. They are dense and sliced nicely. Amazingly beautiful on the cut. This was the first time I had seen such a picture. Inside, there are orange, green and yellow tones, somewhat reminiscent of pineapple. The taste is sweet and fruity. The acidity is barely noticeable. The tomatoes are fragrant, juicy and delicious. Of course, you can make juice or sauce out of them, or whatever else you like, but I mostly ate them fresh. With so many delicious varieties available, not every tomato goes directly into my salad, and not surprisingly, its name, parfait, in French means perfect, fine or excellent. The next tomato in this review is Dwarf Crimson Sockeye, originated from a cross made by Patrina Noski-Small between 2 delicious varieties, Dwarf Rosella Purple and Pink Berkeley Tie-Dye. This small plant is about 3 feet 4 inches or 1 meter tall and produces ribbed, flat round, dark chocolate red fruits that are fairly abundant and look pretty. The average weight was 6 to 8 ounces or 166 to 225 grams, which is also not bad for such a low-growing plant. Despite the thin skin, the tomatoes are quite dense with thick walls. Inside, the fruits are a beautiful dark cherry color with small green shades in the seed cavities. The taste is good, tart-sweet, reminiscent in the best way of the flavor of wild red tomato, enjoyable and refreshing. Real. Just the way a homegrown tomato should be. Crimson Sockeye is definitely a tasty dwarf. Another variety from Australia that pleasantly surprised me in many ways is Dwarf Russian Swirl. Dwarf Russian Swirl originated from a cross between Golden Dwarf Champion and the well-known indeterminate variety Orange Russian 117, which is the reason for its name. The plants are very tall, even compared to the usual varieties. I stopped their growth at 6 feet 7 inches or 2 meters tall in mid-August. The tomatoes are large and beautiful, ribbed, flat round, yellow-pink and the classic bicolor tomato pattern that they adopted from their tall parents. Bunches are heavy, so they will have to be tied so that they do not break under the weight of the crop, which you definitely will not lack when growing Dwarf Russian Swirl. The first fruits picked weighed from 6 to 9 ounces or 172 to 256 grams, but the plant only gained momentum from here on, and the next bunches produced tomatoes weighing from 12 ounces to 1 pound or 337 to 463 grams, and I'm sure they could be even larger. The color inside is also in the best tradition of bicolored tomatoes, and the picture will be different at different stages of ripeness. The longer the fruit ripens, the more red and pink tones will be inside. The tomatoes are very juicy, and the taste is exclusively sweet, without any noticeable acidity. Dwarf Russian Swirl pleased me with the taste, but, just as importantly, good yields, and gave me the fruit until the first frost. Dwarf Serendipity originated from a cross made by Ray South and selected and named by Craig LaHolia of North Carolina. The name Serendipity itself may seem a little strange, but it is understandable. It means the joy of meeting Sarah, which is the name of Craig's daughter. The plant is sturdy, medium-sized, reaching a height of 3 feet 4 inches or 1 meter. The tomatoes are round, with thick walls of tiger red-green color. The tomatoes weighed about 1.7 ounces or 50 grams, so they are not very big. Yes, in its first season, Dwarf Serendipity was not able to show me a decent yield. But if you ask me, is it worth growing? I'll answer, of course. After all, these tomatoes are delicious, dense, store well, and are good not only for canning, but certainly for eating fresh. The fruity and bright tart sweet taste did not leave me indifferent, so Dwarf Serendipity definitely stays in my collection. And again, one of my favorite ones, Dwarf Adelaide Festival, is another tomato by Patrina that I could not resist growing it again. A small plant with a height of only 2 feet 7 inches or 80 centimeters once again rewarded me with the most beautiful striped fruits of dark color. This time not as large, perhaps, and most likely it was influenced by the hail, but I still continue to love this variety. Due to the vagaries of the weather, the tomatoes weighed about 4 ounces or 109 to 120 grams, but I know the real capabilities of the Adelaide Festival and saw them with my own eyes in 2021. Plus, their flavor still holds the highest bar, complex with a great combination of sweetness and tomato acidity, which speaks to the stable varietal traits that make Adelaide Festival one of the most flavorful dwarf tomatoes in my collection. This was another review of 5 delicious tomatoes from the Dwarf Tomato Project. If you liked it, don't forget to subscribe. You can find reviews of many other tomato varieties on my channel. Thanks for watching and, of course, love tomatoes, grow tomatoes. This is the Lucky Garden channel, and see you soon.